The summer air buzzed with excitement as Harry spent his holiday with the Weasleys. What made this summer special wasn't just escaping the Dursleys, it was the Quidditch World Cup. Witches and wizards from across the globe gathered for the event, their tents charmed with enchantments, their flags waving in joy. Harry could hardly contain his awe as he witnessed the sheer scale of the magical world coming together. The stadium was enormous, the game breathtaking. Ireland and Bulgaria clashed in the skies, and though Ireland won, it was Viktor Krum, the young Bulgarian seeker who stole everyone's admiration even while losing. But just as the festivities ended and the crowd dispersed, a sense of dread slithered in. In the quiet of night, cloaked figures known as Death Eaters stormed the campground, wreaking havoc and terrorizing Muggle-borns. Panic spread like fire. Harry, Ron, and Hermione fled into the woods, where they encountered Winky, the house elf of Mr. Crouch, acting strangely. Moments later, the sky above erupted with a glowing skull made of green light. The dark mark, the symbol of Voldemort, had returned. It hovered ominously, casting a shadow over the joy they'd experienced earlier. The return of the mark sent ripples through the magical community. No one knew who had conjured it, but suspicion fell on Winky. Yet something didn't sit right with Harry. Winky had been scared, not sinister. The Ministry scrambled to manage the situation, and Mr. Crouch dismissed his loyal elf, making her sob uncontrollably. As everyone packed up to leave, a chill lingered in the air. Something was awakening. When Harry returned to Hogwarts, the castle stood tall and familiar, wrapped in early autumn winds. But this year was different. Dumbledore had a surprise for the students. Hogwarts would be hosting the Triwizard Tournament, a legendary magical competition between 3 wizarding schools Hogwarts, Boak-Spatons from France and Durmstrang from Eastern Europe. The students gasped. The tournament hadn't been held in over a century, known to be so dangerous that many had died. But this time, new safety rules were in place. Only students aged 17 and above could enter, and their names would be placed into the Goblet of Fire, a magical cup that would choose one champion from each school. Excitement filled the castle as students from Boak-Spatons and Durmstrang arrived. The Boak-Spatons delegation, led by elegant Madame Maxime, glided in gracefully, while Durmstrang's group marched in with strength and discipline, led by the stern Professor Karkaroff, and among them was Viktor Krum, himself, who turned out to still be a student. Whispers filled the corridors. The Goblet of Fire glowed with blue flames, awaiting the names of the brave. When the time came, the great hall was silent. Sparks flew, and one by one the goblet chose the champions. Viktor Krum for Durmstrang, Fleur Delacour for Boak-Spatons, and Cedric Diggory for Hogwarts. Cheers echoed off the walls, but then the goblet sparked again. A 4th name shot out. Harry Potter. Gasps replaced the applause. Harry sat frozen. He hadn't entered his name. He was too young, but the goblet had chosen, and its magic could not be undone. Many were suspicious, even angry. Ron, feeling betrayed, pulled away from Harry, leaving him alone in a storm of whispers and doubts. Even Hagrid, normally warm, seemed distant at first. The only ones who believed Harry were Hermione and Dumbledore, who insisted an investigation would be made. Despite the confusion, the tournament had to proceed. The champions were told about the 3 tasks they'd face: dangerous, magical, and secretive. The first task would test their courage. Harry tried to prepare, But he was at a disadvantage. He hadn't chosen this. He didn't know what was coming. But an unexpected ally stepped forward, Hagrid. He secretly showed Harry what lay ahead. Dragons. Harry's heart pounded. Real, fire-breathing dragons guarded golden eggs, and each champion had to retrieve one. With guidance from Sirius Black communicating from afar, and with Hermione's support, Harry practiced summoning spells relentlessly. He'd need to summon his broomstick to stand a chance. When the day arrived, the stadium trembled with excitement. Cedric faced his dragon with bravery. Fleur tried to enchant hers, and Krum used brute force. Then it was Harry's turn. Alone in the arena, the dragon loomed massive and furious. But Harry kept calm, focused his mind, and summoned his broom. It soared into his hand, and he darted into the sky. The dragon chased him, flames nipping at his heels. With clever maneuvering, Harry led it away and snatched the golden egg, earning roars of approval. He had done it. He had proven himself. But questions lingered. Who had entered Harry's name into the goblet? Why? And for what purpose? These were not questions with simple answers. Something deeper was stirring beneath the surface. In the shadows, an old evil was plotting its return, and Harry's involvement in the tournament was no accident. Back at Hogwarts, excitement brewed in the air. The school felt more alive than ever, as whispers of a magical tradition long thought, forgotten, swirled through the corridors. This year, the Triwizard Tournament would return, a legendary competition, held once every few decades between three great wizarding schools. As the days passed, the castle buzzed with whispers. The golden egg he'd won hid a clue to the second task, but it emitted only a loud screech when opened. Frustrated, Harry wandered for answers. It was Moaning Myrtle, the ghost in the bathroom, who eventually gave him the key. "Put it under water," she said, giggling. When he did, the scream turned into a song, a riddle from merpeople, warning that something dear would be taken from him and held beneath the lake. Panic set in. What would be taken? How would he breathe under water for an hour? Everyone else seemed to be progressing steadily, but Harry had no solution. Time ticked on until the night before the task. Dobby, the free elf, gave him gillyweed, a plant that would allow him to grow gills and webbed hands and feet. It was risky, but it was all he had. The next morning, Harry plunged into the freezing lake, his body transformed, adapting to the depths. He swam through murky waters filled with strange creatures and eerie silence. He found 4 figures bound in a magical sleep Ron among them. Though he was meant to take only Ron, Harry refused to leave the others if help didn't come. Just as the hour drew near, he freed Ron and was about to rescue another when the merpeople stopped him. Reluctantly, he left with only his best friend. Emerging from the lake, exhausted and shivering, Harry was scolded by the judges for being late. But the merpeople defended him, praising his courage and moral compass. He hadn't just sought victory, he had chosen to do what was right. He scored high, and the crowd cheered once more. Yet the mystery only deepened. Between tasks, life at Hogwarts continued with an edge of unease. Ron and Harry had mended their friendship. Hermione, meanwhile, had started spending time with Victor Krum, which made Ron visibly jealous. There was also the matter of Rita Skeeter, the journalist who twisted every event into scandal. She seemed to know secrets no one had told her, things happening behind closed doors. Harry began to feel watched. His scar prickled more often. Dreams haunted him, visions of a distant place where a man named Wormtail served something dark, something powerful. Dumbledore noticed Harry's growing distress. Late one evening, Harry was invited to his office, where he met a strange creature in a stone basin, the pensieve. It allowed one to view memories. There, Harry saw a past trial where Barty Crouch Sr., a strict ministry official, had sentenced his own son to Azkaban. The younger Crouch had been accused of helping Voldemort. These glimpses of the past troubled Harry. They didn't seem random. They felt like warnings. The third and final task approached. A maze grown with tall, twisting hedges filled with magical creatures and enchantments. At the center was the Triwizard Cup. Whoever touched it first would win. But Harry knew better now. This wasn't just a game. Something darker lay ahead. Before the task, all 4 champions were warned of the maze's challenges. Harry and Cedric shared a respectful bond now, no longer rivals but allies. As the whistle blew, they vanished into the hedges. The maze twisted their sense of direction. They were attacked by blast-ended scroots and bewitched vines. At one point, Harry faced a sphinx who posed a riddle. Answering correctly, he moved forward. He saw Crumb stunned, his eyes blank, clearly cursed. Then, in a clearing, he found Cedric under attack by a monstrous spider. Together, they fought it off. Bruised and panting, they looked up, and there it was. The cup, so close, glowing faintly. They hesitated, unsure who should take it. In the end, they agreed to grab it together, a symbol of unity. But the moment they touched it, everything changed. The world spun. They were no longer in the maze. They had landed in a graveyard. The cold, gray stones stretched endlessly beneath a dull, lifeless sky. Harry looked around, heart pounding, searching for any sign of where they were or how to get back. Cedric stood beside him, confusion and fear etched on his face. Before either could speak, a figure stepped out from the shadows. It was a man, pale and twisted, clutching something small and shrouded in dark cloth. Harry's breath caught as he recognized the figure. Wormtail, once thought to be loyal to the Dark Lord who had fallen years ago. The shrouded thing in Wormtail's arms writhed and squirmed, and Harry realized with horror it was a baby, an infant. The man knelt by a gravestone, whispered words that sent a chill through Harry's veins. Magic crackled in the air, shadows twisting and curling as the gravestone seemed to shimmer. Suddenly the ground before them broke open, revealing a bubbling cauldron filled with dark smoke. From within the smoke, a figure began to rise, a shadowy, broken form that slowly became solid, flesh and bone knitting together before Harry's very eyes. It was the Dark Lord himself, Lord Voldemort, restored to his terrifying physical form. His eyes, red and burning, fixed on Harry with pure hatred. The air thickened with dread as Voldemort spoke in a low, hissing voice, taunting Harry and reminding him of their long, tangled history. Voldemort revealed his plan to kill Harry and regain power, fueled by the dark magic that had restored him. Harry felt trapped, helpless, bound by magic to the spot. Wormtail was ordered to kill Cedric to send a message, and Harry could only watch in horror as a curse struck Cedric down. The boy collapsed silently, leaving Harry alone to face the darkest moment of his life. Summoning all his courage, Harry faced Voldemort and his followers. A fierce duel erupted, spells lighting up the graveyard, echoing like thunder. Harry dodged curses and struck back with all the skill he'd learned. At one desperate moment, Voldemort cast the killing curse, and Harry responded with his own magic. But something unexpected happened. The spells connected in a flash of brilliant light. Because Harry and Voldemort shared a unique bond, their magic clashed and echoed. In that instant, Harry's friends Ron and Hermione arrived, along with Dumbledore himself. The Dark Lord fled, his plans thwarted for now. Breathless and shaken, Harry returned to Hogwarts, carrying the weight of what he'd witnessed. The tournament was over, but nothing would ever be the same. The wizarding world had to face the truth. Voldemort was back, and Harry's journey into danger had only just begun. And the weeks following the terrifying events at the graveyard, Harry found himself living between two worlds, the familiar comfort of Hogwarts and the dark, unsettling reality of Voldemort's return. The castle that once buzzed with youthful energy now carried a heavier silence. Whispers floated through the halls, teachers exchanged worried looks, and even the ghosts seemed more subdued. The Ministry of Magic, the powerful government of the wizarding world, struggled to accept the truth Harry had brought back, that the darkest wizard of all time was alive again and plotting his return to power. Harry, still shaken from his near-death encounter, felt the weight of this secret pressing on his young shoulders. At times it was hard to believe himself. How could a boy still learning magic face such darkness? Yet the scar on his forehead reminded him, sharp pains pulsing whenever Voldemort was near or scheming, that this was no fantasy. It was real and dangerous. Amid the storm, Harry's friends Ron and Hermione were his anchor. They stood by him unwaveringly, ready to face whatever came next. Ron, once distant during the tournament's confusion, now showed fierce loyalty, his jealousy replaced by fierce protectiveness. Hermione's intelligence and fierce belief in justice helped guide them through the shadows of uncertainty. Together they formed a bond forged in fire, each finding strength in the other's courage. However, the wider wizarding world was not so united. Many refused to believe that Voldemort had returned. The Ministry issued statements dismissing the story as rumor, unwilling to sow panic or admit their own failures. This denial only added to the growing tension. Hogwarts became a place where fear lurked just beneath the surface. Some students looked at Harry with suspicion, others with awe, and a few with outright hostility. The line between friend and foe blurred. Dumbledore, the wise and powerful headmaster, took the burden of preparing Harry for the coming trials. He met Harry in quiet rooms, speaking softly about bravery, friendship, and the light that can shine brightest in the darkest times. He reminded Harry that the power of love and loyalty were the greatest magic of all. Harry listened closely, his heart heavy but resolute, knowing that his journey was far from over. Meanwhile, life at Hogwarts attempted to continue despite the looming shadow. Classes resumed, Quidditch matches were played, and students tried to cling to moments of joy. But the memory of the tournament's deadly finale lingered. The Triwizard Cup, once a symbol of competition and glory, had become a grim reminder of loss and betrayal. Harry struggled with his place in this changed world. He was a hero to some, a target to others. The weight of expectations, combined with the trauma he had endured, left him feeling isolated at times. Yet through it all, the warmth of his friends and the wisdom of his mentors kept him moving forward. The bond between Harry, Ron, and Hermione grew deeper. They shared secrets, fears, and hopes in whispered conversations late at night. Hermione's steadfastness, Ron's humor, and Harry's determination blended into a powerful force that none of them fully understood, but all felt was vital. Despite the darkness gathering beyond the castle walls, there were still moments of light. Laughter in the common room, quiet walks under the stars, and the unspoken promise that they would face whatever came together. The wizarding world was changing, and so was Harry. The boy who had faced dragons, mermaids, and deadly mazes was now stepping into a larger battle, one between light and darkness that would test not just his magic, but his heart. As the seasons turned, Harry knew one thing for certain. He was no longer just the boy who lived. He was a symbol of hope, a beacon for those who dared to stand against the coming storm. And though the path ahead was uncertain and fraught with danger, he was ready to walk it, not alone, but with the friends and allies who believed in him. The Triwizard Tournament was over, but the true journey was just beginning. The shadows may have grown long, but the light within Harry and those who stood by him burned brighter than ever. And so the tale of the Triwizard Tournament came to an end, a story filled with bravery, friendship, and the awakening of a darkness long thought defeated. Harry's courage shone through the trials, but the real victory was the strength found in loyalty and hope. Though shadows had returned, the light of those who stand together can never be extinguished. As the wizarding world braced for what was to come, Harry and his friends held tightly to the bonds they had forged, a reminder that even in the darkest times, love and friendship are the most powerful magic of all. The journey ahead would be difficult, but with courage in their hearts, the next chapter of their story was waiting to unfold. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with light.